All right, let's just get right into it. If you're completely fed up with the same old self help advice, the cold plunges, the 5 a.m. alarms, that feels like it's just not landing, then you're in the right place. We're going to explore a pretty radical idea for real transformation. And believe me, it comes from a very, very unexpected source.
Okay, so that line from our source, Fight Club, it's meant to shock you. But it's not just about being provocative, it's a critique. The point it's making is that so much of the self-help world makes us feel like we're changing just by reading a book or listening to a podcast. But in reality, nothing is actually happening. We're just spinning our wheels.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? I mean, you can try a new morning routine, you can read another book, but if the underlying structure, the foundation, is still the same, nothing fundamental is ever going to shift. You're just decorating the same old you.
So here's the big diagnosis from the source. The reason we struggle so much to change, it's not because we don't have enough information. It's because we have this deep, almost unconscious loyalty to our old identity. We're trying to grow into someone new while desperately clinging to the person we're supposed to be leaving behind. So, who's the actual villain in this story? Well, it's not a lack of willpower. It's not some personal failing on your part. The true enemy, according to this whole framework, is something we all desperately seek: comfort. You see, we're sold this idea of adulthood that's all about stability, having nice things, and a predictable, easy routine. But the source material has a different name for that: domestication. The idea is that society designs this comfortable life for us, one that's based on buying things and staying in our lane, and it keeps us sedated and kind of numb, not truly alive. And this, right here, is the key takeaway. That feeling of safety we get from our routines, our familiar surroundings, our cozy little comfort zone, it's an illusion. It's not actually protecting us, it's putting us to sleep. It's preventing us from ever feeling truly alive and making a real change. So, how do you break free? Well, it doesn't start with some hype video or a rah-rah motivational speech. It starts with a quiet, clear, and cold decision. The source calls it a calm, surgical disgust with your current situation. And listen, this isn't self-hatred, not at all. It's just a simple, powerful recognition that this is not the life you were meant to live. Okay, so if comfort is the real enemy here, what's the battle plan? This is where we turn to the source material. Not literally, but as a kind of metaphorical blueprint for a complete identity overhaul. And here it is, the roadmap. The source calls it the blueprint for identity death. I know, it sounds super intense, but it's really just a metaphor for shedding that old version of yourself. It starts with disrupting your environment, then accessing those hidden parts of yourself. From there, you reclaim your power by choosing discomfort, finding others on the same path, and finally, learning to truly think for yourself. Let's break it down. All right, the very first step in this blueprint is all about dismantling the things that keep your old identity propped up and alive. And it all starts with your environment. Blowing up your apartment, of course, isn't literal. It's about disrupting the comfortable habitat that constantly reinforces the old you. You can start small, right? Get rid of stuff that anchors you to the past. Change the digital defaults on your phone that keep you stuck in a loop. And maybe create a physical space, even just the corner of a room, that's dedicated only to the person you are becoming. This brings us to step 2, meeting your Tyler Durden. Now, this isn't about creating some fake persona. Think of it more like creating an alter ego that acts as a permission slip. It lets you access all those parts of yourself, the confidence, the boldness, the directness, that society has basically trained you to push down and keep quiet. Okay, so once you've started to dismantle your old world and tap into that alter ego, the next stage is all about building resilience. This is how you really break free from those mental cages we all live in, and it's the foundation for becoming a true freethinker. This leads us to your relationship with pain. You know, most of us are completely controlled by our fear of discomfort, fear of rejection, of fatigue, of failure. By choosing discomfort on purpose, through what the source calls controlled suffering, you take that power back. You're teaching yourself, on a deep level, that you can handle stress. So what does a modern, totally legal Fight Club actually look like? Well, it's any arena where your ego gets checked and you're forced to face real, tangible challenges. Think about it: martial arts, public speaking, a tough sales job, or even just pushing your physical limits in the gym. These activities build what the source calls aura, that quiet confidence that you can only get from walking through fire.
And look, it really boils down to the choices you make every single day. When you choose avoidance, fear stays in the driver's seat. But when you choose discomfort, you build your own power. When you choose to just follow the group, you stay the same. But when you choose yourself, that's when you evolve. It's a constant decision between staying stuck and actually growing.
Now, when you start to change, you're going to face resistance. This quote reframes that pushback so perfectly. People aren't necessarily judging you. What's really happening is that your transformation threatens their comfort and reminds them that they are staying the same. They're mourning the loss of the old you, the one who fits so neatly into their world.
So, what's the end goal of all this? What's the point? It's not just to be a little bit more productive or check off a few more boxes. It's to become someone fundamentally different, someone your past self wouldn't even recognize.
And here's the honest-to-God warning that comes with real change. When you stop being so predictable, so available, so controllable, people won't cheer you on. They might call you obsessed or selfish or weird. They might even cast you as the villain in their story because your growth makes them feel uncomfortable. You just have to be ready for that.
Remember that identity death we've been talking about? Yeah, it sounds terrifying, but this visual shows what's really going on. The you that dies isn't your core self. It's the small programmed part of you, that 10% that runs on comfort and social conditioning. What's left when that finally falls away? Well, that's the real you.
Ultimately, this whole process isn't about chasing motivation, because motivation comes and goes. It's about aiming for metamorphosis, a complete and total transformation. You don't just feel a little different, you are different.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. If you could really shed that layer of social programming, that deep need for validation, that addiction to comfort, who is the person underneath it all? Who will you be when the program is finally gone?